Good morning, everybody. Hopefully everyone's doing well. We'll start off with some green check marks. I know we have a couple new faces, so I just want to make sure everyone's kind of sorted it out. Same sort of process as math, if you recall that. Good stuff. Excellent. All the check marks coming in. So again, we're having the live feed going in one window and then your chat going in another window. And that's going to be the kind of process we go through today. Same as math, but I know there's a couple new faces with us, which is great. So you guys are just so excited to get going. We'll get going. We're gonna start slowly with science, and then we'll get into it a little bit later this week and next week. We are going to talk a little bit about the safety learning guide today, Abby, so if you want to print it, you can. It's up to you, though. We're not going to get too much accomplished today. It is the first class, so I just wanted to kind of ease into things, give you guys a little bit of a rundown on what everything's going to look like, and then kind of expectations surrounding the course, what we're going to do, and then give you guys some time to work probably today, getting into the safety stuff. I know it seems kind of silly. We probably won't do a ton of labs. But, safety is part of the curriculum, so we do need to cover it. And there's not much we can do, unfortunately. Taylor asked, do we need a textbook? And no, the textbook's built into the course. This course has all of the information associated with this BC Science 10 textbook. So, if you have access to the BC Science 10 textbook, the green one, then you can, use it, but it's built into the course, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. So I'm going to go through kind of a bit of an outline of the course, and if you have any questions, just fire them into chat, but I don't imagine you'll have a ton right off the bat here. So it's really similar to the math course and how it's laid out, and I know a few of you guys didn't do the math, so there's 10 units plus the safety unit, so it's really kind of 11, but the safety unit is just kind of a one day thing. It's not very long. In grade 10, it's the last year that you guys will be studying kind of all the sciences in one. When you make it to grade 11, you'll be looking at picking your sciences. So from earth science, physics, chem, bio, science and technology, there's lots of different options. So what I hope to do with you guys is help you guys get through this Science 10, and then help you decide maybe which sciences you want to take in grade 11. So at any point along the way, our journey through science, if you have questions about, what the grade 11 sciences look like and how the kind of stuff we're doing relates to that, ask away, because I know you guys need to start picking your courses, and Mrs. Wood Mrs. Wood will go through that with you guys, depending on where you might be heading next year, if you're sticking with us or moving on, if we have a program next year, things like that. So, just keep that in mind. You're going to have to pick a science. You have one science credit in grade 11 to graduate, and then you can take as many as you like. So if you have, a desire to do some more sciences, you can do that. Devin's asking, are we going to meet on Wednesdays again, like math? Probably not right away, maybe closer to the end. I don't foresee you needing to meet a lot. There's not a lot of stuff in the beginning of the science that is kind of like foundational stuff that we do that kind of builds. So what we'll do is, if you do need extra help or whatnot, then we can arrange that, but I'm not going to set aside time right off the bat for those Wednesday afternoons. Once we get into the chemistry and the physics, we'll probably end up doing that because it does get a little bit more challenging, but for now we'll just stick with this. So I'm thinking this is the order we're going to go through things in, and we'll definitely start with biology. I think we might go to earth science after that, and then chemistry and physics in the last sort of half of the year. The chemistry unit is a really big one, and the things we do in biology don't really lead well into Biology 11. It's kind of a bit goofy how the biology is set up through all of the grades, like 6 through 11 sort of thing. Earth science is earth sciencey. Chemistry really leads into the chemistry in grade 11, and the physics really leads into the physics in grade 11. So those 2 units, chem and physics, are things you'll see again, definitely, whereas the biology, not so much. And the earth science is a really small unit, not a ton of stuff there. So there you go. Like the math exam and the math course, the science has a data booklet, and when you guys sit down to write your provincial exam, you'll get this data booklet. And it's 12 pages long. And the really, really cool thing about the data booklet in Science 10 is that there are questions on the provincial exam, and there'll be questions on the test, which pull things just directly from the data booklet. So there will be they'll be literally just reading information from this book. There's usually about, out of the 80 questions you get on your provincial, about 10 or so of them are just directly taking information out of your data book. So in a second, when we go into Moodle and we have a little tour of the course, I'll show you where to find that. You can print that off, or I can print one off for you, and then you can pick it up. So it's kind of like, it's your best friend in Science 10. It has a bunch of information to help you do a lot of stuff, and you cannot make it through the course without it. So we'll look at that here in a minute. Basic outline of how the grades are going to break down. So I hummed and hawed a long time about what I wanted to do in terms of assignments and things like that, and this is kind of what I eventually settled on. So as you know, this is the first time that we've done the course like this with you guys at home and meeting every once in a while and our Friday activities and all that. So I'm not, set in stone on this, but I'm thinking from the start, this is probably the best sort of option. I think math worked out pretty good how we broke it down, and this is kind of similar to that. So your learning guides, your unit reviews, and your assignments, these are all kind of things that you can do on your own with your notes. So a third of your grade is kind of considered kind of like open book sort of thing. And then your unit exams will be just like math. So each unit will have an exam, about 20 questions. I think some of them are 18, some are more. We're going to do 2 midterms again. So we'll meet and do 2 midterms, and everything else will be done at home. The final exam, 10%, we'll do that at home as well, under supervision of your parents or guardians or whoever's at home with you. So I'm thinking each midterm about 20% for a total of 40, unit exams 20, assignments, learning guides, reviews 30, and then your final exam. So all of that in-class stuff makes up 80% of your grade, and then we have a provincial exam again, which makes up 20% of your grade. So there you go. And I'm hoping that from a few students who replied to me that, you felt kind of prepared for the provincial exam in math. And that's kind of my goal here. Again, we're going to work through, we're going to do the stuff, we're going to have fun along the way. A little more fun than math. Math's kind of dry, but there's more things we can do with the science curriculum, so we'll have some fun with it. And I hope that you guys, at the end of the year, can walk into your provincial exam with a feeling of being prepared and not encountering any surprises or things like that. That's never a good thing when you walk into provincial, you're like, whoa, I've never seen this before. So if we can get everything kind of out of the way, get it out there, make sure you guys are familiar with everything, and we'll go from there. So that's kind of a breakdown. If anyone has like issues with any of this stuff, you're like, well, this is too much tests and things like that, I'm flexible, but I'm thinking this is kind of a good bet. So we'll go with this for now. If I, change my mind, then we can go ahead and change it up, but I'll make sure everyone's aware before I change it. So I'm going to go into the course here in a second, but for now, each unit has a learning guide, just like we did before. Now, the learning guides are a little bit different because the learning guides have notes in them. So I'll go through the notes with you guys with PowerPoints and things and slides behind me. And then the learning guides also have kind of practice and activities built into them. So there's going to be sometimes that I'm not going to want to do them and sometimes I will. So I'm going to make sure I'm really clear on what my sort of expectations with the learning guides are. But they are basically notes, practice, all into one. And then assignments, we'll probably have 1 or 2 assignments per unit. They can be really small. Sometimes they'll be big sort of projects. And then instead of having the quizzes along the way, the quizzes are kind of built into the lessons. So I'll show you what that looks like. And they won't be for marks. And each unit, before you write the test, has a review at the end. So you can think about the review as an open book test. You can write a closed book if you want, but an open book test, you can do the reviews as many times as you want. You can practice, lots of times, things like that. And then there'll be a test, and you guys will do the tests after the learning guide's been submitted, just like with the math course. So you get the learning guide. Once the learning guide's been submitted, you'll get the password for the test. Then you can write the test under supervision at home. There's no textbook. Taylor had asked that at the beginning. It's built into the course, and it's built into the course better than the math course that we've already done. So the math course, it kind of had all those lessons and interactive videos and things and notes and whatnot. That wasn't it didn't have a textbooky feel to it. The science course, the textbook, has a textbooky feel to it, and I'll show you what that looks like. So the lessons, the textbook that's built in the course matches the learning guide and kind of follows along with it. So that's that. I'm going to jump over to the course now, and we'll have a little bit of a look there, see what that's all about. Is there anyone who doesn't have access to the course? Is everyone in the course? I had to enroll everyone. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. So I guess I could go back to the homepage here. So you guys will have 4 courses this semester. Just going to scroll down a little bit. Computer's running a bit slow today. So Science 10 pops up. You guys have socials, English, and then your electives. I forget what you're doing. Foods and PE, I think. So Science 10. I don't see anyone typing in the chat that they're not able to access this, so I'm going to assume everyone's able to get in here. Some of you have been in, some of you haven't. Doesn't matter. As I mentioned, there's 10 units, and then the first unit is the unit on safety. So right at the top of the page, we have your formula sheet or your data booklet. So maybe we'll open that up, just have a quick peek what that looks like. A link to another site. You can also get this off the Ministry of Education website. I would print one off, or I can have them printed off for you guys. Unfortunately, we can't do color, but we'll make sure that you guys, it's not the end of the world if it's not in color. It just kind of helps a little bit. So the first page is a periodic table, and the periodic table is... Sorry, it's not rotated. I'll flip it when we use it. But the periodic table is just, we're going to use it when we do the chemistry section, and a little bit of physics uses the periodic table. So all the elements, you guys have seen it before. We'll talk a lot about it. The second page, this is where color kind of helps a little bit because we have all this acid-base indicator stuff. So once we get into chemistry, we'll talk about acids and bases. I know it's advanced stuff. It's just expensive, so they don't trust us teachers with that fancy technology of color printing. The next page, just all the elements listed alphabetically. So if you're like, where is rubidium? I can't find it on the periodic table. You can just look it up, find rubidium, and then it tells you where it is. So that's there. Some common ions, common acids, prefixes. We'll talk about all this in the chemistry. And then you get into some plate tectonics stuff. So we're dealing with earth science, plate tectonics, volcanoes, earthquakes. We'll talk about all that stuff. So there's our little neighborhood where we live. And then there's a global map of the same thing, of all the plates, where they're moving, types of ridges and whatnot are there. And then we get into the nutrient cycle stuff. So we have a carbon cycle, the phosphorus cycle, and the nitrogen cycle. We have biology biome map of the world, and here is the nitrogen cycle. So they're a bit complex, but the really great thing about all of this cycle stuff is, this is what I'm talking about, all the questions on the, not all of them, but a lot of the questions are just, referring to things on those pages. Common isotopes is radioactivity, so a bit of physics, and then we have some of the formulas down here you'll use when dealing with physics, motion, and things of that nature. So that's your data booklet. We'll use it a lot, and I'll refer to it a lot. I'll have one with me in here, and I'll use my camera and show you guys it as we kind of go along. It is your friend. Use it, because you need to be extremely familiar with it. As I mentioned already, there's probably 10 questions on the exam, which will just be directly reading off your data booklet. There'll be at least another, 10, 20 questions where you're just referring to things on it. And it'll help if you are really quick at finding things in it and you know where everything is. So that's the first thing. Second thing is glossary. And sorry, Mason, I see you have your hand up. If you have a question, Mason, you can just ask it. Don't have to raise your hand. Just fire away into chat, and I'll try to address it as I go. The glossary is all of the vocab from the question. That is a good question, Mason. I think I can actually show you here. All right, so Mason, your blackboard looks like this, and then in the right corner of the screen it says there's these little lines, and you can go detach panel. So if you detach the panel, now you can move it around wherever you want. So you could bring it next to the live feed video. That's usually, I think, what most people do, is move the chat next to the live feed, and that way you can see the chat and see the live feed. So in the right corner, detach panel of the chat, and that should break it off for you. Let me know if that didn't work. All right, so the second thing is a glossary, all the vocab we'll deal with, and perfect, thanks Mason. The vocab, or Science 10, is heavily, relies heavily on the vocabulary. You need to kind of know the terms. There'll be just simple definitions and things like that along the way. They are important. I don't like just plain memorization, but it's just kind of a reality of having the provincial exam at the end and the tests along the way. What will I learn in Science 10? Well, I don't know. What will we learn? These are all of the prescribed learning outcomes from the Ministry of Education. You probably don't need to go in here too often, because some of them are kind of wishy-washy, and we'll approach them different ways, but there you go, it's there. Do you need to print the glossary? No, please don't print it. It's very long. I wouldn't suggest you memorize them at all, because we're going to hopefully learn them along the way, and we're going to put them into situations and sort of environments that make sense, and they'll come up. If you come across a term in the reading and you're like, what was the biomagnification? I forget what biomagnification is. And then you can go into the glossary and find it there. So yeah, I wouldn't print it off. We'll encounter the terms along the way. Maybe at the very end of the course, if you go back and you're like, well, I don't remember what nitrification was. So you go back, you could look it up. It's there. I won't refer to it very often, but it's kind of nice to have it just in case you need it. So all of the prescribed learning outcomes are there. If you want to look at them, there you have it. The course outline I put in here, it's just kind of built right into the course. Just talks about the things we've already talked about, but if you need to refer to it, it is here. So the different sciences we're going to talk about: earth and space science, physical science, life science, and applications of science. The objectives, why we do the course, it's all in there. The breakdown of the grades down here at the bottom. And then office hours if you need help cheating, submitting work. You guys are all experts at that. So it's there. If you need it, refer to it. The glossary won't be available to you during the exam, no. The exam's closed book with the exception of your data booklet. So unfortunately, you can't just refer to it. No, Alex, you're experts at submitting things. Although you could be an expert at cheating and I just don't know. I guess that would be why you're an expert, because I don't know. If I did know, you wouldn't be an expert. So course outlines there. And then our first unit's the safety unit. And yeah, you'll notice that this looks a little bit different than the math course. There's these little green icons, and every time there's a little green icon, that will be an indication of kind of like a sort of a textbook section. So everything kind of looks similar, but it's kind of a bit different. You have your learning guide at the top like normal, and you'll pull that up. The first one, the safety unit's only like 5 or 6 pages. The first unit one, the biology unit, it's 30-something pages long. So if you don't want to print it, which I wouldn't if I were you, but if you don't want to print it at home, I can print it off for you here and you can just come pick it up. I'll leave it out somewhere. You don't even have to say hi to me. You can just come grab it, go, or somebody can run by. Or if you're out at one of the Friday activities, like come to Badminton on Friday, you can pick one up there. It is a lot. So, and then there's 10 units. So it's going to be like, 300 something pages of paper. So if you want me to print it off, just send me a message, I'll print it, and I can just leave it out for you. If you're around downtown or Friday activity or whatever, you can pick one up. And we can, do it ahead of time so you guys don't have to worry about printing it off at home. Okay, so safety rules. I'm going to just go into this first little guy here. It's a little bit not difficult to navigate, but it's not extremely familiar unless you've seen it. So once you get into these little textbook sections, basically they're kind of right out of the textbook. They've just copied and pasted them right into the course, and they've broken them down into units. So before you begin, you should always follow and read the labels. Now over here on the right side, there's these arrows. So I'm going to get Mr. Ross to possibly get me out of the way and zoom out just a little bit. So these little triangles over here on the side are kind of like allow you to flip from page to page. So if I click this one, it goes to the next page, and then I can read, and then over here again on the right, maybe I'll minimize it. There we go. You click on the next one, it takes you over to the next page, slowly. And then once you've done reading that section, instead of there being a little right triangle, now it's an up triangle. So if I click on the up triangle, it takes me back to the course page. So let's look at the HPS, and WHMIS. So I go in here, I go through all of the symbols, and then I click the little right triangle, takes me to the next page. Workplace Hazardous Materials Information Systems, WHMIS. Read. And then once I'm done that section, the little up triangle takes me back to the main course page again. So that is how you kind of navigate through there. And those sections with the little green icons, little book, sometimes they'll have, crosswords built in or quizzes, things like that. The safety unit's kind of just a quick little thing that we do at the beginning, just kind of ease into the course. And then once you get further into the biology unit and further than that, those little green textbook icons, they'll have videos in them, they'll have information, images, all sorts of stuff will be in there. So that's just a little bit of getting used to that. And then at the end, safety unit learning guide drop box. Same as before, you have this add a submission down at the bottom. There you go. So you click on add submission. Once you finish your learning guide, you can upload it. You can use Cam Scanner. You can use TinyScan. You can take pictures of it and just put them into Word documents. You can do whatever you want as long as I am able to access your learning guide. That's kind of it. And then once you've submitted the learning guide, I'll send the email to your parent, guardian, and they will supervise your test, just like always. So the first unit, it says unit exam safety, and you're like, oh my gosh, we have a test already? It's really quick. It's not anything difficult. So just be aware that it's really small. Just kind of get a feel for things. What else did I want to talk about? Maybe I'll fire open this learning guide for the first unit, and we'll just have a little peek at that and see what it looks like. So most of the learning guides are fairly similar. They all start with sort of notes that go along with those little green books, the book sections that are in the course. So you can go through them, and it just says, is it true or false? Answer if it's false, correct the statement. So just going through some of the safety practice rules, which aligns with the in-class sort of stuff, the book stuff that was there. There's a picture you need to identify. Please identify at least 5 activities being performed that are incorrect. You guys have likely done something like this before in the past. And then, I don't know why it's in there twice. Apologize for that. While fires can be very useful, they also have their drawbacks. What do you do if you're on fire? This is all just out of those little green textbook things. And then it gets into WHMIS and HHPS symbols. So you guys have likely seen these symbols before. We're not going to deal with them a lot in class because you guys won't, obviously, be at home. You won't have access to these types of chemicals. I do hope to set up a few labs where you guys might be able to come in. I do have access to a classroom at Kelowna Secondary as well, so we might figure something out where you guys can come in and we can do some experiments and whatnot. And I will set up experiments that we can do online or things that you can do at your home to kind of, get you doing something that's not just written work all the time. So continuing with the learning guide here, just matching the symbols to their definitions. And the learning guides, as always, they're open books. So, use whatever you have at your disposal to answer these questions. So this one's 8 pages. It has all the answers at the end. I mean, it's not terribly difficult stuff. You guys should be fine, and I know you will be fine because you guys made it through math, or at least had seen some of the math stuff we did, so it's a similar sort of process to the math course. All right, so we have the safety unit learning guide. You can download that. All the answers to learning guide are in these 2 little green things. There's also, throughout the course, these safety rule matching. So you can, in math, we did quizzes, and I didn't insist that you do the quizzes. I mean, most of you did them along the way, but I didn't say you must do a quiz. It was just kind of one of those things. It was just extra work. So when you guys are doing the course, the science course, there's these matching things, there's crosswords. It's all kind of built in. I mean, do you have to do them? No, you don't really have to do anything. You don't want to. But will it help you? Yeah, for sure. Like I said, the science is heavily based in definitions and vocabulary. So going through and being exposed to the vocab in different ways, it's only going to help you guys. As I said in the math course, you're going to get out of the science what you put into it. If you just kind of show up and do the learning guides and that's it, well, you'll probably make it through the course. If you don't do any of the work, then you're not going to make it through. The more stuff you do, the better understanding you'll have. I don't want you to kill yourselves trying to get through it, but it is the reality. So, I mean, it's just drag and drops. You drag it over, you drop it. I'm just kind of randomly placing these, so don't think this is the right answers. Drag and drop. There we go. I put them all in there. Let's see if I randomly got any of them correct. I put them all in, and then I go to the top and I click on check. And I got 1. No, I got 2. Good for me. So you just move around until you get them all right. Pretty straightforward stuff. So this was the, go back to the course page here. This was the, I think it says safety unit matching, just in the first safety unit here. It's not, it's not taken for marks or anything. I don't see how you've done or how many attempts you've tried or anything like that. So it's just there for your practice. I missed a few questions here. What did I miss? Mrs. Woods visiting us. Excellent. Shana's asking a great question. Is science going to be a slower pace than math? Yes, science will be much slower than math. I mean, there's still work. Not necessarily a lot of work. Probably equivalent amount of work to the math course, maybe a little bit less. But we're going to do it a lot slower. We'll have a lot more time for things. There'll still be time at the end, probably a couple weeks of sort of review. So we're gonna, take it easy. We might go fast for a few sections and slow. I usually go through the biology quite quickly and then spend more time on the chemistry. So I hope you guys, if things are going super fast, then let me know. I know math was a little bit tricky at times trying to get through it. Some of the more difficult sections we had to kind of breeze through. I hope to not do that in science. If you guys remember, we did start math a couple weeks late because of my family. My wife and I, we had a child. So I wasn't there for the first 2 weeks dealing with him. And then look at us, starting on day 2 of the semester. So there you go. I think that's it for questions. Thank you, Mason. Yeah. The course is definitely going to be me doing sort of a lecture introduction to the concepts. Then I'll give you guys a little bit of practice in terms of assignment, things like that. The safety unit, I was going to, go through it and say, this is this WHMIS symbol and this, and I'm like, what's the point? You guys can just go through it and answer those questions and get used to reading the green little, I don't even know what I call them. I guess it's the textbook. It's the textbook. So the textbook is found in all of these green ones. I'm going to just jump down to the biology unit and we will have a look at something that's maybe a little bit longer of a textbook type thing. So if we look at the biome section, which is going to be what we'll look at, you can see it's a bit longer in terms of the material. So it talks about the Eden Project and kind of an introduction. And then we move on to what is a biome, gives you a diagram, some definitions, things like that. And then down here, there's this interactive, biome-y thing. So I can click on the grasslands, it tells me about it. I can click on different desert, all the different biomes that we're going to talk about. And then I click the next triangle over. It goes to the next page. I don't know why I went back a page. Maybe it was something I said. All right, let's try this again. Maybe I clicked the wrong one. There we go. So factors that influence biomes, gives you the map, talks a little bit about it. It looks like a textbook. So think of this as being able to just flip through the textbook pages. There's these diagrams. So I'm going to talk about all of this stuff as we kind of go through the course. I'm not going to expect you to sit at home and, just read through it and try to absorb all that information. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have some activities and things we do with regards to it. But the biology, once we get into the course, the textbook that's built in is more, there's more to it. The first safety unit isn't a good indication of what it looks like, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's a few questions. How's my child? He's good. He's almost 5 months old now. And he is happy and he's starting to sleep more, which is nice for my family. And then when should we start working on the biology work? The biology will probably get to, I think we have 2 classes this week and 1 next week. I'm hoping we'll get to the biology next week, maybe at the end of this week. When should we hand in the safety unit? I'm going to hope to get started today on the safety unit. I'm going to give you guys some time. We don't have any other class. And then, if you can get it in at the end of the week sometime or at the beginning of next week, that should be good. I don't know, right? I've never gone through this in this format before. I mean, I've taught Science 10 in a traditional classroom probably like 15 times, 15 different blocks. I've taught it a lot, so I really like the course. It's fun. But I've never done it in this format. I don't know how long this stuff's going to take you guys. So you guys are going to have to give me an indication of, like pace, the amount of work you're doing outside of, the class, and we'll get through it together. It'll be a bit of a learning process. Alex, what's his name? My oldest son, he's 3. His name is Reese, and my youngest son, he's 5 months almost, and his name's Parker. So Reese and Parker are my 2 boys. Okay, I think that's about it in terms of what I wanted to say as an introduction to the course, get you guys kind of in there and familiar with it. I don't want to stick dates on anything yet because everyone's just kind of getting familiar with everything, getting comfortable with, the course, me. There's a ton of you guys that did the math. There's, I think, 16 of us. But now I think we have 22 students in the science course, so there's a bunch of new faces too, and some of you started the math and then, focused on other things, which is fine. But we're all going to get through this together, and the thing that's going to determine your success in this course, just like the math, is are you able to just do the work? Find the time to do the work. If you are able to go through the lessons, copy down the notes with me, do the activities, try the work. If you're able to keep pace, you should be fine. Because this is a provincially examinable course, we have that magic number again, 62.5%. We'll call it 63. If you make it through the course, you get to the very end, June, with 63%, that provincial exam doesn't matter. You could get 0 on it and you still pass the course. So I know a few of you are in a situation where you're just trying to get through, and that's fine. Science 10 it's not a difficult course. There's a lot of stuff. It gets difficult in the middle. There's some easy sections, there's some hard sections, and students do struggle with it, and I understand that. And I've like I said, I've taught it a lot of times. So I want to just make sure if you're getting through it, you're doing the work, you're staying current with us, you shouldn't have any problems. You should be fine. And if math is any indication of that, I think there's only 1 or 2 students who made it all the way through and, were in a position to fail. Just about everybody in the math course that made it all the way through, didn't have any worries. So that's kind of my goal here for you guys as well. If you can make it through this course with me, if you can stay current, if you can do the work on pace with us, the whole class, you're not killing yourself, then you're going to make it through, no problems. You guys will be fine. It is a learning process for me and everyone, so if something's happening too quickly, you don't have enough time, let me know. I'm flexible, but deadlines are important. We do have, 2 terms. The end of the course does eventually come and everything needs to be done. So if you start getting behind early on, you're going to struggle throughout. It's important to stay current with the material. Like I said, if I'm going too fast, then let me know. And if a bunch of students are saying, hey, Mr. Borden, we need more time on this, then we can spend more time on it. I do know the sections where we can kind of blow through them real quick, and then the sections where we need to, pause and take some more time and do some more practice. So that's that. Does anybody have any questions about the course? I've been talking for 45 minutes, which is far too long. What I would like for today, because you guys don't have any other course this afternoon, and I'll probably end here in the next 10 minutes or so, I would like you guys to maybe get started into the safety unit, because I do want to get it out of the way. I know that it seems like kind of crazy to do all this safety stuff and talk about handling chemicals and things like that when you probably won't ever encounter that situation, but it is part of the curriculum. We do have to teach it. The safety unit, there will be, I don't think there's any questions on the provincial exam in reference to the safety stuff, so Not super duper important, but I mean, safety is important. But in terms of your provincial exam, it's not a section that's tested. So think of the safety unit as more of an introduction to the course, an introduction of how things are going to go, an introduction to you reading through the material, answering the questions as you go, and things of that nature. Not like something that's going to be tested and you need to memorize the WHMIS symbols and all of this stuff. You should just learn them. Most of them are kind of common sensey when you look at it. They make sense. So that's what's going to happen for today, and then we'll see where we're at tomorrow. Yeah, Taylor, no worries. If you don't have it printed off today, that's fine, or don't have access to a printer. I'm okay with that. I like the format of the course better this time with the textbook and stuff. Yeah, that was one of my kind of complaints about the math course, was the textbook didn't really seem like a textbook. It didn't have reading. It had the examples and that nice man doing all those videos and things. It was kind of like more of an interactive sort of thing. This is more of a traditional textbooky feel. And if you have access to the BC Science 10 textbook, then you can use it. One thing I didn't mention is if you go to bcscience10.com, all of the sort of the diagrams that are in the textbook, the physical textbook, and into the online sort of built-in textbook, they're all on this BC Science 10 website. And this is where all the information comes from. It's the publishers, McGraw-Hill, Ryerson. You can see it up in the top corner here. But all of the different units we're going to study are all here. And you can, we're going to start with ecosystems. So if you go into the ecosystems, all of the images that are in the textbook, both online and the physical textbook, are all found here. There's additional reading you can do. There's activities. There's, if you're interested in, Apollo 17's picture of the Earth, there's all sorts of additional material here. So if you're interested in climatographs or you're having issues understanding them, all there. Biomes, how to find them, interesting stories. It refers to all the text pages, page 29, but you don't have a textbook and it won't refer to anything, but all the sections that we cover are all the same. So a bunch of additional material if you're having issues with the textbook and the course. This is a good place to kind of go, and there's quizzes, and these quizzes are all built into the course. And just additional resources, all on this bcscience10.com website. There are stuff to do with the provincial exam. There's other textbooks, the Science 8 and Science 9 stuff, and it's just an additional resource. So I won't refer to it ever, but if you guys need an additional place to go, bcscience10.com. It is the same publisher that we use in the course, so all of the material is the same as what's in the course. Just a different spot to look at some stuff like that. So I think I'm just gonna leave you with this. The safety unit is open. I would like you guys to do it. I would like you to print off the learning guide. And one other thing is, maybe I'm thinking yes, this is what I'm gonna do. If you don't have a printer and if you don't want to print it, that's okay. What we can do is, I'll convert this to a Word document, or try to find the Word document, so you can just download it, and then you can do it digitally, and then you can just submit the digital Word document, so you don't need to print it. I like printing things and working by hand, but if you don't want to, you can just do it, if I convert it to Word, you can just take the letter D and just write D over here for the matching, and that might work. And you can write on the computer, so you don't need to print anything. So maybe I'll do that for you guys. I like printing, but some don't. That'll allow you to do it. If you don't want to print it, you don't have to. So that's the first learning guide. It's there. I would like you guys to print that and start it. And then I will allow you guys to work on it. I'm going to see where we're at next day. I'm thinking this probably won't take you very long. It's maybe like 30 minutes or so to get through it. And then hopefully I can move on to the biology stuff maybe next day, maybe. So what we're going to do is, I'd like you to print off the safety learning guide. I'll upload a Word document, hopefully today in the next hour or so, if everything goes well. What you need to do once you've printed the learning guide is go through the little 2 sections, the safety rules and the HPS and WHMIS, and answer the questions. Once you've done that, you're going to either take pictures of your learning guide, scan it, whatever you have in terms of access to submitting it, and then submit it. And hopefully you can submit it in the next couple of days. I know you guys have other classes going on, so I'm not going to insist it's done for next day, but I have a feeling if you spent the next 30 minutes doing that, you should be fine and have it done. So I would like you to print it off. I would like you to start working on it, and then we'll see where you're at next day. As well with the biology unit learning guide, I did mention this one was a bit longer, and if you wanted me to print it off for you, I can. So I think it's 34 pages. It's really long. I have some PowerPoints that I'm going to go through that'll kind of go along with your learning guide, and then there's a couple activities built in here. Making chromatographs and talking about adaptations and things like that. So it is long. It's kind of like a textbook and kind of notes built in together. So I know. This one's longer than the other ones just because of all the biomes. There's 8 biomes we're going to deal with. So if you want me to print that off for you, I can have it waiting at the school. I'm thinking we'll probably get into it next day, maybe a little bit tomorrow. And if you had that printed off for tomorrow, that would be great. If you don't have access to a printer for tomorrow, then you'll be fine. The lessons are recorded and I will put them back up so you can go through it again. And the learning guide is meant to go with the little textbook sections right in the course. So if you don't even pay attention to me, you just want to go at it on your own, you'll be able to get all the information that way as well. So print off the safety one, get going on that. You guys have about 30 minutes left in the time we scheduled for class today. So that should be enough to finish the safety stuff, but you guys can let me know next day. I do hope to start biology next day. Spend one day on that safety and then get into the biology. We'll spend probably 4 or 5 days getting through some of the stuff. It is a bit longer. And then we will see where we're at. So I'm going to leave you there. I hope to start biology, so if you're going to just print it off, great. If you want me to print it off for you, I'll have it waiting here at my building. And there you go. So if you have questions that I didn't cover, you don't want to ask, just message me in Moodle. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And I'd like to just see where everyone's at tomorrow in terms of the safety learning guide, if you're having issues with it or if there's anything that I didn't really talk about. I see a couple of people typing, so I'll just give you guys a second to ask any further questions. But that's all I'm going to do for today. So maybe just a couple more seconds. You just guys saying bye. That's good. Cool. I'll stay around in chat. If you have any questions, you can ask. If not, message me in Moodle. And we'll see you guys tomorrow after your time with Mrs. Wood talking about your electives. So have a great afternoon, and we'll see you tomorrow.